Welcome back. I'm Richard Paterson and I'm on the drum faculty at the ICMP Music School in London, and we have been over the last 2 months talking about ergonomics in drumming, and that means we've been looking initially at how you set up your drum kit with your body proportions in mind so that it all best suits you, setting up your drum kit to your body rather than adjusting your body to your kit. Now this month, we're going to change. We're going to start looking at the mechanics of the human body more than the physical drum kit. And to do this, I'll be introducing you to our in-house Alexander Technique teacher at the Institute, Jane Gregory.
Hi, Rich.
Hello. So I've been having lessons with Jane Gregory, and what I've learned is that we really should start treating our bodies as our first instrument and our drum kit as our second instrument. Over to you, Jane.
Very good, you've been listening, fantastic. Yes, I think a lot of drummers spend a lot more time actually thinking about the setup of their kit and all kinds of fancy techniques, and they don't really spend any time thinking about the human body, the body they're actually using to play the drums with.
Right.
So, it's a good place to start.
Good stuff. Where do we start?
Where do we start? Well, let's start at the top. Let's start with the human head, shall we? Now, the head. The head weighs 10 pounds, a whopping 10 pounds, and I'd like you to feel that weight, just to give you a bit of an idea of what we're talking about. And I think all drummers should head down to their local supermarket and pick up anything that weighs 10 pounds, just to get a bit of a feel for that. It's quite amazing how much the head actually weighs. And of course, that has to balance on the top of the spine. And if it's not balancing on the top of the spine, it is putting weight somewhere else in the drummer's body.
Right.
And that's a problem because it's going to drag energy and you'll end up wasting a lot of precious energy that you could be using to play drums.
What other advice could we give drummers regarding balance?
Well, let's ask you a question. If I were to ask you where your head meets your spine, where would you point to?
I think there.
Right, okay, well, not a bad guess, but actually it's much, much higher. The head and the spine actually meet where there's a little bump on the back of the head. So if drummers want to try that at home, where they feel that little bump, that's the edge of the skull. And that is where the head meets the spine. So if you want to just turn around, you can see how high that is. And that's good, thanks, Rich. And the shocking news is that it's not at the back either.
No.
The spine actually goes into the center of the neck. So if you put your fingers just here under your ears, if you could get through the muscles of the neck, you would meet it to the point where the head and the spine actually meet. So I want to show you a drawing of that, just to make it absolutely clear. This is a picture from a book by Richard Brennan called the Alexander Technique Workbook. And as you can see in the picture, the spine goes right into the center of the skull. So that means it's balancing. And it means you have to do very, very little to actually keep it balancing on the top of the spine. So that's good news for drummers.
So we've seen how the head will balance on the spine, and what are the muscles that are involved in this?
Right, well, without going into too much anatomical detail, and you're sitting now so we can have a look at this, it's the big muscles at the back of the neck which actually hold the head steady on the spine.
Right.
And the problem is that most drummers shorten these muscles. And if you shorten these muscles, and I'm just going to give them a little bit of pull, the head's going to go back on the spine. So we want the muscles to stay nice and long. And why don't we do a little illustration now to show drummers what they can do at home to make sure that their head is balancing on the spine. So at home, drummers will need a mirror for this, but you've got me, Rich, so we won't be using a mirror. What I'm going to ask you to do is, we've learned about how the head balances here, and you're going to rotate the head forward by letting go of these muscles, all right? That's it, that's more than enough. And now I'm going to ask you to bring the head back up to where you think it's level, all right? Right. Okay, now this is a typical thing that drummers, and really, to be honest, most people do, and that is the head is now too far back. And Rich doesn't realize that because this seems to be the normal place that a lot of people carry their head. So you can see clearly now that that is actually the head balanced. And it might feel a bit strange to you at first, but there we have the head now balancing on the spine. So drummers can try this at home and use the mirror, because the mirror never lies. The mirror will tell you whether your head is straight ahead or not. And incidentally, all drummers should really use a mirror when they're practicing at the kit. This way they can sort of see not just the neck, but what they're doing with the whole of the body, and it'll really build their awareness.
Okay, so today we've learnt that the head sits on a central spinal column and it just balances up there. In fact, if there's one thing I've learned in these Alexander lessons I've been having, it's that you don't actually have to do anything. It's all about being aware of what you're doing and, if anything, undoing any tension that you have, because tension will get in the way of your playing. It'll absorb energy and it'll restrict your mobility around the kit. Now, just like when you learn a new technique, old habits will kind of want to creep back in, especially when your mind wanders, you're thinking about other aspects of performance, listening, maybe dancing, maybe even doing backing vocals. It will take a while to find its way into your playing. That's why you need to set up mirrors maybe in your, or even film yourself playing in your practice studio so that you can keep on correcting your posture in the hope that this new muscle habit will develop and it will become a mindless task, something that you're not even thinking about. You'll be holding good posture without any unnecessary tension when you play. So there's the first installment on Alexander technique. We'll be back with Jane next month for the next step. We'll talk a little bit more about posture when you're playing, but for now just think about balancing the head on the neck and not trying to hold any tension in the neck at all, and see how you get on.